In this lesson, we will be learning about how to construct a book review. So, a book review is when you read a book and you write your opinion about it. So, you write about what occurred in the book, what is the plot line, what's the story, and what is your opinion? Do you recommend it to other people? Is it worth reading? So we're going to go through a step-by-step method in which you guys are going to read a book and write a review. So the first thing you need to do, and the first paragraph, right, will be the summary of the book. So it says, write a summary of the book, write about the setting, where the story took place, usually the time and the place. Introduce the main character or characters in the story. Example, what are the characters' qualities, names, etc. Discuss what conflict or problem the main character faces in the story. If you're still having trouble starting, you can answer the questions who, what, when, where, and how. The second paragraph. Summarize what happens up until the high point of the story, where your character resolves a problem. Use some of the transition words below to help you write your review. So transition words are conjunctions that we use to connect parts of our sentences as well as paragraphs. We need to use them to create flow in our essay. For example, the word first, also, because, another, second, between, next, as a result, finally, then, later, last, after that, for example, and during. I have included a list of transitions here in this PDF for you. For example, you want to show how something is different from another thing. Then you would use the transition of contrast, right? So words like on the contrary, contrarily, notwithstanding, but, however, nevertheless, in spite of, in contrast, on one hand, on the other hand, rather, etc. If you want to add something, you use the conjunction plus, and, in addition to, furthermore, however, besides, blah, blah, blah. So it's all here in these transitions depending on what type of transition you need. If you don't want to write the word for example, then you can write for instance to illustrate, thus, in other words, then an illustration, etc. If you want to write something that is a result or consequence, effect of, then you can say so that, with the result, consequently, hence, accordingly, etc. These are very important. Okay, so moving back to our table here. So in the second paragraph, you need to summarize what happened up until the high point of the story, right? Which we just spoke about. In the third paragraph, you need to write the ending of the book. Write about how the character solved his or her problem. So write about the denouement or the resolution. Also discuss what the theme of the book might be. The theme is the central message of the story, right? What is the theme? Is the theme poverty? Is the theme generosity? How is it displayed in the book? What in the book tells you about, that particular theme? For example, you're writing about Matilda, and we know that in Matilda, she achieves the impossible, and she breaks free from the cycle of abuse. So you could say that that is your central message. Then, in the fourth paragraph, you need to give me your opinion, right? Write a paragraph giving your opinion of the book. Use the following guidelines. What do you like or dislike about the book? Give details. Was the book confusing? Was it too easy to read or too hard? Was it predictable or believable? Did you like the ending? What was your favorite part? What connections did you make with your life or other books? Talk about the author's style of writing and give examples from the book. Style of writing could also be like, is it an adventure story? Is it a thriller? Is it a love story? Is it a friendship story? What kind of story is it? Also, how is the author writing? Do they write, in a professional way with very high vocabulary, or do they write on, perhaps you in grade 7 and um, you know, the author is writing on your level, right? Is it more informal and casual the way the author writes, etc. And then lastly, recommendation. Recommendation is, would you recommend this book to someone else? Explain whether you would recommend this book to another student. Rate the book from 1 to 10 and give examples on why you gave that rating. Examples may include a quote or quotes from the book, or a summary of the part of the book that you like or did not like. A quote is when you copy what someone has said in the book, right, or an incident from the book, word by word. All right, so let's look at everything I just told you, but in a summarized version. So first of all, when you're going to write your book review for me, you need to write your name, your grade, and just book review, right? And then you need to write the title of your book. So in this case here, the book title is Peter and the Starcatchers, and you need to follow the order. So first of all, write the summary. Summary is telling me basically, what's the setting, where did it take place, and the characters, and discuss the problem, the conflict, right? We call it in the story arc the rising action or the inciting action. What caused the problem to occur? B, how does the main character resolve the problem? Discuss the high point of the story, and how is the problem resolved. And C, discuss the ending of the book. Talk about the theme, central message. Theme is very important because you need to tell us, what did you take out of this book? Why is it special to you? What messages does this book deliver? Then opinion. What did you like or dislike about the book? Why? And give details and examples. Recommendation. Why would you recommend or not recommend this book to another student? Okay, let's go through a book review example of Matilda. So in the first paragraph, as you can see, we are discussing basically, it's in this book review, it's actually different because the person who wrote it first writes a little bit of an introduction, doesn't go straight into the summary, right? So he says, this story is quite simple, simply Roald Dahl at his best. Opening the cover to find the slightly tattered pages filled with uncomplicated illustrations, I am instantly transported back to my childhood. I can picture the places I sat to read the story, reacquaint myself with the feelings of comfort, inspiration, and amusement I experienced whenever I read it. It is one of my all-time favorites. So can you see how this person is warming us up towards his review? And he's, writing very descriptively. He's using words like, he's indulging the senses, where he says that he opens the cover and he finds the tattered pages, and the pages got tattered from all the times he read the book. And he says he can picture the places he sat to read the story, and it makes him feel comfort and inspiration, and makes him feel amused, right? So that's a lot of nostalgia here, and automatically makes us like the book. Okay, so it's a good thing. Oh, I was supposed to write like, but anyway, just putting a smiley face there. Okay, so let's move on to the second paragraph. This is where the guidelines kick in, right? So in this book, Matilda discovers her love for books, and by the age of 3 has taught herself to read. At 4, she has read all the children's stories in the library. She's oblivious to her brilliance, and her parents are less than encouraging. What's wrong with the telly, for heaven's sake? Her father demands, whilst Matilda's mother insists that brains never got a woman anywhere. So can you see how this person has given a little bit of an introduction and a great summary of what is happening in the book, right? And they've even went to the great lengths of quoting exactly what Matilda's father says in the book, which is, you know, if you quote, um it's a very clever thing to do, and you know, it helps your review. um it gives it weight, it gives it value. All right, so make sure to quote at least 1 or 2 times. Yeah, and then we move on to paragraph 3. It is not until Matilda attends school and meets the lovely Miss Honey that anyone begins to nurture her talents. But things don't become easier for Matilda there. She must survive a place ruled by a frightening and larger-than-life Miss Trunchbull, who has Matilda in her sights, insisting that she is a nasty little worm. Can you see how they've quoted once again? Very important, right? It makes you look intelligent. It makes you look like you've read the book and you understand this book. Okay. And you know, use words like insisting, use words like attend, nurture, all of those words which show that you really you know, you looked in the thesaurus for examples of alternative words, and you never use just daily words, right, that we use every day. And therefore, the ending of the book, right? The next paragraph. Within the familiar school ground setting, Roald Dahl takes his readers into the world of one little girl enduring cruelty, loneliness, and an overwhelming power to teach lessons to adults in her life. The combination of speaking directly to the reader and crawling into the minds of his characters is classic Dahl. Only he could be responsible for dreaming up the amazing tools of disciplinary proceedings and Cruncham Hall Primary School. So, guys, it's really interesting in this book review because the author doesn't really tell us the end of the book, because they don't need to, right? We get the synopsis, we get the idea of what the book is about, and we know that's very positive. Whereas, you know, the author indulges us about the writer actually of this review indulges us about the author Roald Dahl and tells us what kind of author is he, how does he make us feel when we read the book, and you, you know, what is his talent as an author. This entire paragraph includes the author, and you can absolutely do that too. You can include notes about the author within your essay, right? Moving on. Now, this is the person's opinion, the reviewer's opinion about the book. This book is amazing. There's a lot of fantastic creative imagination. My favorite part was when Matilda poured the water all over Miss Trunchbull to make her swallow the lizard that was in the water. It was super funny. I learned kindness, bravery, and diligence. So, can you see how this person has told you an incident from the book, right? They have enclosed an incident from the book, which is very important because it shows that this person actually read the book and understands the book. Moving on, the story has a surprising mix of humor, adventure, and mystery. So here we're going into the genre. What type of book is this? What is it? Thriller? Is it humor? Is it adventure? Right? And as with any Dahl story, Matilda provides a strong message to children. Nothing's impossible. You can do it. So this is also very important to add in your book review, which is your theme and your message. Oh, plus a message to grown-ups. Treat your children nicely, as they're not helpless as you may imagine. And yeah, so all of that is a recommendation. All of that is telling you why you need to read this book. It's so awesome, right? And lastly, I strongly recommend this book to all children from ages 7 to 12, and I believe that they will enjoy a funny story reading. Okay, so I've included different rubrics for grade 7, 8, and 9 with regards to your word count. Please pay attention to that. But when you look at your rubric, you are going to see this little table, which I'm going to mark you with. So let's see what how an excellent book review meets its criteria, right? So the first thing is content. Content is what you write about, right? Student provides a book title, giving solid and sound reasons why the book is important to them and why it would be important to future generations, referencing several specific details from the book, right? So guys, for content, I want to know, have you researched? Have you done your homework? Have you read this book? And this will be evident to me in the way you quoting from the book, in the way you're relating the incidents from the book, right? That's very important to me. And if I can see that, you've referenced it, if you don't like the book, you need to give me solid reasons for why you dislike this book and people shouldn't read it. And if you like the book, tell me why you adore it and why people should read it, right? Why it's worth it. Then structure. Structure says that the student's essay follows a clear structure and organization that is easy for the reader to follow, including clear introduction and conclusion. The student's work contains transitions. Remember, transitions are conjunctions that I showed you guys that allow the essay to flow from one idea to the next. So this is basically transition. How does your essay transition? Does it make sense, or does it hop from one idea to the next, which doesn't really carry me through a train of thought? You need to take me from one destination to the next, right? We can't keep moving back and forth because that just won't make sense. So make sure that your essay flows. Then we have style and voice. The student's essay contains a variety in sentence structure and uses appropriate and interesting vocabulary. Please, guys, use a thesaurus. You can find that online, or you can have a paperback of a thesaurus as well. That's fine. So when I say sentence structure, I mean don't only have short sentences and don't only have long sentences that go on forever. Have a variety, have long and short sentences depending on what you need to say. And refrain from writing a whole paragraph and connecting the sentences in that paragraph with the word and. She went to the shop and she bought groceries and it was late and blah blah blah. Rather cut your sentences short or use interesting transition words. And then lastly, mechanics. The student's work shows correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation throughout the writing piece. So make sure you have capital letters, you have all your punctuation marks, you have proper spelling. There's no reason for why you shouldn't have proper spelling, because now you have autocorrect and you're writing it in Microsoft Word. And make sure there's proper grammar as well. Make sure that you are writing in, if you're writing in the past tense, then make sure that you keep it consistent. And yeah, so that is the end of this lesson, and more details will be posted on Google Classroom for you guys to follow.